And then I started thinking about it, the demonic nature of the film, and then I talked to the choir master I was going to use in London, and he was quite a linguist when it comes to Latin. I mean, he knew the language. He spoke Latin fluently. If one speaks Latin fluently, I don't know if he speaks fluently, but anyway, he did speak Latin very well, and we started talking, and I got this idea, wait a minute, why don't I make this sort of like a black mass? So I take the mass, and I said, give me some lines out of the mass, and he started giving me some words, and he said, what if we just twist them around, and like, you know, we're gonna, instead of hailing Mary or whatever, let's hail Satan. He said, well, that's Ave Satani. I said, great title, you know. And I just felt that there was definitely a very strong love story with Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, and also the love of the child. I mean, this side of thing, this intense relationship, this love, makes the horror even more terrifying when you think that when he loses his wife, who he loves so much, and his kid that he loves so much, and all of a sudden he realizes finally that the moment where the kid is the devil, I mean, it's made more powerful by the fact that they've established this relationship. That's really good filmmaking, it's good storytelling, it's good construction. Jaws had just come out, and it had that very effective ostinato that John did with the half step going up, back and forth, and back and forth. But it had a tremendous amount of energy to it in its simplistic way, and very effective it was. But it had a lot of energy, and Dick was very impressed with that. And he said to me, he says he liked that idea so much because it propelled, it pushed the film, which is something I've always felt, is that I think one of the important functions of music is to help the pace, to move it sometimes. And it adds an extra amount of energy into the film. And so I think that was laying in that was about the only thing that Dick really told me to discuss with me. And as a matter of fact, I was in Los Angeles, and he was calling me from London, I think, and telling me this, that he'd just seen Jaws. And he liked that feeling, and you know, could I get something like that in this movie? And you'll notice that's what I was really, there was a strong rhythmic idea that was going on that started simply, and it kept getting more and more intense. The whole picture allowed me to do, I don't think that I had felt this kind of freedom in a film musically, and pushing this more or less the avant-garde style, and since I had done Planet of the Apes, which was what, some 10 years previous, or 9 years previous, and maybe those two were the most avant-garde, or for me, for film music, for films that I've ever done. It's not that I've been less daring, I just haven't had films that allowed me to do that. That's what I like doing the Omen so much. It gave me this kind of palette that I could really do whatever I wanted to do. And so in The Dog Attack, I did some very interesting things with the chorus, not singing, but making grunts and groans and making strange noises that are not necessarily musical, but I incorporated them as being musical. And doing some very interesting effects with the orchestra and all that. And looking at the picture again, I feel that if we'd done that today, the recording would have been much better, and the dubbing would have been much better, and the orchestra would have been twice as big, and the chorus would have been twice as big, and more and more and more. Maybe we're better off because we didn't have all that thing. I mean, we all know the budget was very limited on this film, and maybe that's why it's so good. We didn't have all that. We had to sometimes think that the absence of money makes the old imagination work harder. Anyway, that was a scene that really allowed me a lot of latitude, and a slow building up, and then it was the most terrifying scene. Sometimes less is better, and I think that the music never stopped when you pushed in on the eyes. It just got very soft there, rather than, which if I was big and making a big statement there, when she attacked, the surprise would have been gone. And I don't like telegraphing something in the music. I like to be surprised. I don't want, all of a sudden. I mean, sometimes you're asked to do that. So many times you hear the music getting more and more intense. Okay, something's going to happen, because the music's telling you something's going to happen. Get ready for it. And sometimes I think it's better to stop music and let there be silence, and then everybody's sort of off guard. You don't know what's going to happen. Is something going to happen or nothing going to happen? And then bang, something does happen where it's very startling. And in that case, I felt that by playing very intense up to that moment, then all of a sudden when you're getting the emotional reaction, rather than continuing with this intensity in the music, all of a sudden the music sort of relaxes and not relaxes, but just sort of sustains for a moment and almost fades away, and you're left with maybe the wonderment that he's feeling, the amazing feeling, the frightened, any kind of, all the different emotions he must be feeling. And then bang, on top of that, she attacks, which is the big scare moment. And then all hell breaks loose. And I remember when I'd started working on the picture, and a month later, and Harvey kept saying, "You're going to win an Academy Award for this. This is going to be an Academy Award." I said, "Come on, Harv. I mean, this is a horror picture. Nobody goes." And I guess I was wrong. I mean, since I've lost 17 times and won once, I mean, I'm an expert at losing, a novice at winning. I think that Omen at that time was like 10th or 11th nomination. And I was just getting used to not winning, so I was really surprised when I won. And I especially Bernard Herrmann had been nominated for 2. He had just passed away, and the sentiment was, you felt as soon as they announced him, you could hear the applause in the audience. I said, "Oh, there it goes." And so when they did announce me, it was unbelievable. I don't think that I've ever, in all of the films that I've worked on, and some of them are pretty important films, ever realized at the time I was doing them that this was going to be a pivotal film, a momentous film. This was going to be sort of a stepping stone somewhere.